We are now going live on YouTube. We are 1 minute out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that white noise is actually coming from Craig.
It is possible.
All the nods mean yes, it is. You are the guilty party, Mr. Brown. And with that, we'll call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order. We will begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman James Godbout.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Present.
Councilwoman Green. Councilwoman, you're muted. Councilwoman Green.
You can't hear me?
Barely. Councilman Herzberg.
Here.
Councilman Londo.
Here.
Councilman McDermott.
Here.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Present.
President Hart.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll begin tonight with special presentations and announcements. First, we have Miriam Cady, who will be speaking to us regarding the Relay for Life. Miriam, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Miriam. Go ahead, please.
So great hearing your voices and seeing your faces on my phone. But I hope everybody's well. And thank you so much for having me, Council President Hart, and the rest of City Council, Fire, Mayor, Police, everyone, City Clerk. Appreciate it. So we are, I wanted to gather our thoughts, and after having a couple meetings, wanting to do something for our relay and realize that, let people know that, they have not been forgotten and they're not alone and that kind of thing. And their report, and just because we have COVID doesn't mean the cancer stops, and that's what we wanted to let people know. So we are going to continue and have our Westland Wayne Relay for Life on September 26th, but it's going to be virtual. So we're this is obviously the first for a lot of us, but across the board, we've been talking to American Cancer Society with other relays and with other virtual relays, and they've been very successful and just keeping everybody united and trying to raise what we can, being mindful of the situation and financial needs of a lot of people, but also to realize how low we are in our fundraising. And so we wanted to do what we could for our survivors, for anybody that's out there that have lost anyone, and try to raise whatever we can. So that being said, I will be sending you all a flyer after the meeting this evening, and I have we're going to have an opening ceremony at 11 a.m. So please tune in, and everybody out there, our website once again is relayforlife.org/Westland Wayne MI, and that's how everyone can get on and know more about what we're doing. But it's really cool because besides having opening ceremony, we're also going to have a luminaria ceremony with our video and asking people that want to purchase luminarias or that have luminarias already throughout the week prior or that day, take pictures, put your luminaria, light them, on your driveway and your sidewalk, send us those pictures. So we're going to stay connected with people that way. But the mayor, I had said a few words for us. We're going to piece a video together for our opening ceremony. We're having somebody do national anthem. The mayor is going to open, and a few others that I will be asking. So we're gonna do the best we can. We're gonna honor our survivors at 2:00. Also asking survivors to please, email us a photo, a short video, anything like that. But I will be talking more about that at another meeting if you'll allow me, and keeping everybody posted. But it's a lot to grasp, but we're going to do the best we can. Week prior we're going to have an endurance walk challenge, a cutest pet contest, a silent auction. So the week prior. So please go on and check it out to get more information about that. These are ways that we're going to be trying to raise a little bit of money. And any sponsors that can help out, we're still asking for that. And any teams out there that still want to join, please pass the word or join a team that's already there. But go on and find out more about that. This Thursday at 6:30, we are having a Zoom all teams meeting. And you can find out, of course, more information about that at our relayforlife.org/Westland Wayne MI. So I know there's a lot of information in a few short moments, but I don't know whether anybody has any questions for me. I'd be glad to answer what I can. And of course, through emails, I'll be sending flyers and any other information, but we will be reaching out to a few others to do what they can. But like I said, we're going to piece together a video to open, and as if we're there at 11 a.m. And throughout the day, we'll have 3 theme laps and different things going on throughout the day. And then we just don't want to let people know that we have forgotten about them. And that's just a little snippet in a few short moments. Anybody have any questions for me?
Doesn't look like it, Miriam.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I appreciate the time, and go relay. And we actually have a hashtag too, hashtag WW Virtual Relay Strong. So we'd like you to pass the word, and please tell people to go on our website. And we are having our virtual Relay for Life September 26th, starting at 11 a.m. So we really appreciate all your continued support of our community and all of our administration, city council, mayor, everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody stay healthy and safe.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank
Next announcement we have comes from Commissioner Glenn Anderson. Commissioner, are you there?
Yes,
Glenn?
yes, I am. Thank
All right,
you.
Glenn, we hear you. Go ahead.
The layout on this Zoom is a little different than the one we use with the county apparently, but I was able to get on and I appreciate the time. Just wanted to give everyone a little bit of an update. The Ways and Means Committee, which I'm on, started the 2021 budget deliberations. I think we're into our 8th meeting, I should say, 8th meeting over the last 2 weeks. And this will be a compressed schedule of hearings on the budget due to the commission receiving it later than we normally do due to COVID-19 issues. We didn't get it from the administration until about the 15th or 16th of August, our central staff, and then we got it a little later than that. We'll get it done though before October 1st, as we're required to do. Also recognizing that the number of non-poll voting is expected to be massively higher, and the uncertainty about the Postal Service from what we're hearing on the news, and I know there's a lot of people concerned about that, $100,000 from COVID-19 CARES dollars were approved by the Wayne County Commission to provide communities voting ballot deposit boxes. Those communities that asked for those, when I did a survey, we have those ordered and they should be installed well before the election comes around. Wayne County Commission also, the commission approved a back to work small business grant program, which I know a lot of you have heard about, which provides up to $20,000 to small businesses. And these are grants, not loans. And the 48 small businesses in Westland have been awarded a total of $762,000 in those grants program. And an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Westland and Wayne County was approved in committee today, having to do with parks, and it goes to the full commission for final approval next week. The IGA is for major improvements to Hubbard Park on Hubbard Drive. With my discretionary funds from the parks millage, it'll be $44,766 going to install a new park playground equipment. With this allocation, Westland will have received $351,244 for park improvements since I've been on the commission. I think that includes the ice arena too. The commission continues to use Zoom for online meeting online meeting platform, as I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, for its committee and full commission meetings. But my office is still available by phone or email to anyone that needs to call us for anything county related. And the coffee hours have continued to be suspended due to COVID-19 in the interest of safety and gathering restrictions that have been issued by the state of Michigan. But with that, that's all I have, unless there's a question.
Are there any questions?
Councilman Hart, you'll be happy to hear, and you've probably noticed Merriman Road is quite a bit of work going on Merriman Road too.
Yep, we noticed. We can't wait for it to keep creeping its way south, so it gets fixed all the way through town.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Glenn. We'll now move to questions or input on the agenda from the public. This section will allow a person to be recognized only at the beginning of the meeting to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda. Questions asked will be answered during the agenda item following a motion and support from the council. Are there any questions from the public? I see two hands raised that were already raised before this question came up. I'll ask Mr. Edward Pruitt. Do you have a question on the agenda?
Thank you. This is Pastor Edward Pruitt here. My agenda item comment tonight is in regards to the agenda item on the consent calendar, line item C, regarding the approval of the bid for GIS for an annual payment amount of $210,000. To accompany this bid approval request, we find attached supporting documents. One of those documents is titled City of Westland Board of Ethics Vendor Disclosure Statement, which is a disclosure as to substantial interest that could pose a conflict of interest. On June 18th, 2020, our Honorable Westland Mayor, Weil, declared that he was in favor of filling the already established 14-year vacant Ethics Commission. His caveat to kick the can down the road was he wanted to involve the city council. His honorable action was no action. So a better Westland took it into our own hands to move the ball forward. On July 6th, at the Westland City Council meeting, we put each council member to a question, and they each went on record as a proponent of it. It was unanimous. The sentiment was clear. Point the Ethics Commission now, and citizens apply now. Well, the mayor has known that this commission has had a desire from the community to be filled nearly 3 months ago. The city council made their standing as a proponent of it being filled 2 months ago. No study session has occurred. No filling of this commission has happened either. If that is the case, how can you approve a document from the Ethics Commission without an Ethics Commission to vet the document? This is not the first time this document has shown on the city council meeting agenda. For 14 years, documents that would be vetted for integrity has had no Ethics Commission to do it. How can you feel comfortable putting your vote to a $210,000 award on the goodwill of a recipient of such a hefty amount without the proper commission being filled to vet as needed? It is on time that you, as the city council, mandate the mayor to fill the Ethics Commission. The mayor has proven that he does not have the intent to fill it. It is time to begin a study session to move the ball forward. Otherwise, your votes on agenda items such as these is suspect. That's all I have.
All right, next hand raised I have is from RNA Tool, Greg Raymond. Mr. Greg Raymond. Okay, I have no response there. We'll move on to phone number ending in 017.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can now. Please proceed.
Thank you, Council President Hart. Richard Graham from Move Westland Forward. Just, I guess, to echo, I wasn't going to speak on this, but under the consent calendar, specifically item C and the bid, it is interesting. I have raised this before that the document that's in these bid packages is regarding the ethics board. And I see that it is filled out, but if there really is no ethics board and it hasn't been filled in 14 years, so obviously means that's not a priority. And there's absolutely people that's applied to that. I'm wondering how that can, be in our bid packages that the city sends out, how it can be filled out and accepted by city council and then enacted when that board doesn't technically exist, because there has to be some moratorium on if something hasn't existed for, say, over 10 years, then it truly isn't there. And, Mayor Wild's been mayor for 14 years, approximately, and I guess it's not a priority. And frankly, I guess it's not a priority of city council because there hasn't been a study session and it's been approximately 11 weeks. So always curious of how things are done here, and that piece of paper added when it really doesn't exist. So that's it. Thank you very much for the time.
All right. Are there any other questions from the public? Okay. Move over to the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
So moved, Council President Londo.
Support, Godbout.
There's a motion by Council President Londell, supported by Councilman Godbout. Is there any discussion from the mover or supporter?
Yes, Council President, if we can move item K to new business 1A.
Is there support?
Support, McDermott.
We have a motion and support to move item K to new business. Is there any discussion from the maker or supporter on that?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Any other discussion from the council? Councilwoman Green.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay. I have questions on, the first question I have is on item D on the consent calendar.
Councilman Green, we're on a sub motion right now to move item K, and that's a discussion in front of council right now.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead and then I'll ask my question.
Is there any discussion from the council? All right, the motion to move item K to new business, roll call.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg,
Yes.
Councilman Londo,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Moving back to the consent calendars or discussion from the council, I believe Councilman Green at this time.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Faintly.
Okay, my first question is on item D. Page 66 of the council packet says that item D, we're being asked to approve $30,268.28 for the bid for network infrastructure reconfiguration. We are effectively 3 months into the current budget. The current budget started on July the 1st. So my question in terms of item D, with us just starting, again, that we're on the 3rd month of a 12-month fiscal budget, why was this not included in the budget that we had multiple meetings for, and why are we being asked to approve this after the fact.
Steve Smith, can you explain how the budget cycle works on that?
Sure, through the chair. A lot of times when we file for grants, we don't know if we're going to get approved for them, so thus they're not put in the budget. In this case, the JAG grant or the Justice Assistance Grant was approved, and now in order to we spend the money, we get approval, and then we get reimbursed from the grant. So, and then we would bring that to the first quarter financial meeting and for a budget amendment.
Okay, I apologize. Was that in the packet anywhere? Because I didn't see that on the sheet that stated that this was reimbursement of a grant that we already spent. So are you stating that the city spent these funds hoping that we would get the grant, and now that we actually have it, this is a reimbursement, or what are you saying? Because I don't see anything in terms of a grant reimbursement in the packet for this item.
Through the chair, well, we would never spend money unless we had the grant already approved. In this case, the grant has been approved, and now we're spending the money once the grant was approved. And I do believe there's 2 items today similar. I think item D and F are spending the grant money we were approved for. And I do believe it is in the background information in the packet.
If I may, Council President.
Please do, Craig.
The letter of recommendation for both of the items that Finance Director Steve Smith is alluding to, it does say in the letter of recommendation that they're both being funded through the JAG grants, and it's not part of our general funds for our budget.
Okay.
Thank you, Craig.
Tell me where that is so that I can make sure I reference that section in the future, because I'm actually looking at the packet right now, and I unfortunately do not see that anywhere. So do you know which page that is on? Because I'd like to make sure that I don't have the same. Oh, I see it. Okay, thank you. So okay. Thank you for that. So my same question would apply to item F. Same question, but also we are being asked to approve, and thank you for that, Mr. Brown. We are being asked to approve $19,000 for 10 laptops, when I want to say just over a year or so ago, roughly, Westland spent almost $200,000 for citywide computers and laptops. I want to say it was like roughly $175,000. At that time, it was stated that due to a Windows change, you made the recommendation for us to buy something like more than 200 computers and laptops, and this was supposed to take care of our whatever the need was that you stated at that time. And so my question is, why are we being asked to approve another $19,000 for 10 laptops when we just approved almost $200,000 for computers about a year ago? And who's getting these 10 laptops? And what's going to happen with the existing ones that we have? Once you answer those questions, I have a follow-up question to that.
Craig, can you handle your letter of recommendation on that, explaining that?
Yes, I can. Through the Council President's Council Member Green. So again, these are funds that are being used from the JAG grant itself. These are laptops that are going to be utilized for off-site training purposes for officers that do not have laptops currently. It's going to be basically a floating fleet of laptops that will be available to police officers for outside training or outside duties wherein they don't have laptops currently. The computers that you were alluding to that were purchased under our Windows migration program did provide for laptops for people that currently had laptops, desktops for people who currently had desktops. This was an opportunity for us to expand our fleet and make us a little more flexible. Under the original migration program, we were just providing for replacements for the items that we had. We weren't really looking at expanding the fleet at that time. This JAG grant gives us the opportunity to buy mobile laptop communication devices for the police officers specifically for these types of uses. So we're trying to take advantage of it so our police department will be more flexible going forward than what they have currently. The officers that currently have desktops that will be able to use these will continue using their desktops. Again, this is a floating fleet for training purposes, outside service or outside duties and things along those nature. Going along with the laptops is the necessary equipment to attach it to our network, which will include some cabling and other minor things like that. So it should provide us with more flexibility.
Okay, thank you. And just in reference to the 200 plus computers that we purchased citywide, the roughly $175,000 purchase that we made, there was no discussion in reference to what would be done with the existing computers. Some of them were not, the city of Westland was not operating with archaic computers. There was a change that Microsoft made, which resulted in your recommendation for all new computers. So what happened with the fleet of computers that we currently had at that time prior to replacement? Because I didn't hear any discussion in terms of donating the computers to a school district, which actually right now would be something that would be pretty useful. There was nothing in terms of possibly donating to a prison system or a children's program. So I would like, since this is an item, what did we do with those computers prior to the $175,000 purchase?
Sure, Council President.
Please do.
Okay. Again, those are actually a really good point that you're making. Those computers are still in the city's possession. We haven't disposed of them at this point. We have them in storage. While we look at different avenues that we have for donating equipment or selling it to recyclers, but we have not disposed of that equipment at all at this point. We've got a multitude of avenues that we're looking at based off of the equipment itself as to what would be the most beneficial to the community and to the city. So I from what we've looked at so far, I'm sure a number of them will be donated to different programs and some of them will be sold off to put some more funds back into the general budget. But we haven't decided on which way we're going to go or how much of each piece of equipment we're going to move in either direction. At that point, when we do decide, the council will definitely be briefed on it. So you're aware of what's going on with that property.
Thank you. Council President, I have two more questions and then I'm going to make a motion. Is it appropriate? Would you like me to ask my remaining two questions or to make the motion at this time?
That all depends on what your motion is, Councilwoman.
My motion is going to be that the city of Westland, the mayor and his administration be required to come up with a plan to donate these computers for to a program that will benefit our community, whether it be school, returning citizens, seniors who are utilizing.
Well, if I could cut you off, if you want to change anything that has to do with an item that's on the consent calendar, then you have to move it off the consent calendar, put it on new business.
Okay,
So,
well, I'll ask my final question then, and then I'll just do that. My last question, or my last two questions. Same question applies to item J, Craig Brown or Mr. Brown. Is this item another one, the $27,000 that we are being asked to approve that is not budgeted? I mean, you can just give me a yes or no. Is this another grant? Because again, I unfortunately overlooked that. So
that comes through the police chief, Chief Jadrusik.
Oh, okay, sure.
Chief.
Thank you, Council President. That was, I'm assuming we're talking about the radar signs?
That's correct, Chief.
Yeah, that money's coming from the Metro Act money. I think Mr. Smith could probably explain that money a little better.
And Mr. Smith, you want to explain how the Metro Act monies work?
Sure. Through the chair, this is not grant money. This is not general fund money. This is the Metro Act money. This money is received from the state on an annual basis, and it's used for right-of-way purposes. So these signs would be put in the right-of-way as far as what the police department has said. So that money would be spent out of that money or out of the Metro Act money.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will make a motion relative to line item F with the 10 laptops. I will make a motion that the city of Westland, specifically the mayor and his administration, be required to document a plan to donate the computers that computers that have been sitting in storage for over a year to a program or source that will benefit citizens of this community. And I would ask that it be done within 60 days, since we have had these items sitting in storage for more than a year, and we have kids on, they're on virtual schools. The systems have been scrambling to even come up with computers, and we've had all these computers for over a year. So again, I make a motion that the city of Westland have no more than 60 days or 60 days or less to document a plan to donate these computers to a source that will benefit our.
Councilwoman, the only motion you can make right now is to move it off the consent calendar and put it on new business.
Okay, so I will make a motion to move. Well, I'm not in disagreement with it. So how do what would be your recommendation? Like, I'm not in disagreement with item.
My recommendation is, quite frankly, you're trying to make a motion on something that really has no support. You're trying to tie two irrelevant items together. What we're being asked to do is consider this this grant dollars to buy these 10 laptops. And then you're trying to go ahead and tie the donation of something else that's not related to this motion together. So it wouldn't even be an effective motion legally. But if you want to pull it off the consent calendar, you can do that and deliberate it a little bit more. But quite frankly, if you do that and that's going to be your motion on under new business, they can't even tie them together. So we're being asked to approve and consider this grant dollars for these 10 laptops for these police officers. That's the question that's being posed in front of council.
So you're telling me I cannot make a motion at this meeting at all for our city to utilize computers that have actually, some of them new computers that have been sitting in a storage locker or unit for over a year? You're telling me that that is inappropriate, and what you stated was you're trying to do it. I'm not trying to do anything but give our citizens the ability to utilize something that obviously our city has not thought about for more than a year, while we already spent $200,000 over a year ago. So it's not an illegal motion. So what would you recommend I do? Because I think that it is high time that someone does. I would like to think for myself and not allow. I mean, it's absolutely absurd that we're finding out tonight that these computers have been in storage for more than a year, and you're telling me that it's an illegal motion for me to ask this question.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to explain how it works. Mr. Fasson, you have your hand raised. Do you have something to offer?
I do. I suggest the councilwoman go ahead and make her motion to move item F from the consent calendar to new business. And when that comes up on new business, I can provide some possible direction on how to couple the two that she has in mind.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Mr.
But it has to start with moving off the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. And for the record, I actually am in support of it. I just think we should be smarter about the use of the funds. So I make a motion to move item F to new business, item 1B.
Support.
There's a
Hertzberg.
motion by the councilwoman, supported by Councilman Hertzberg. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Rakowski. Councilman McDermott, I believe you have your hand up already to speak on the agenda, the consent calendar as a whole. So that's why I called on Councilwoman Rakowski, because her hand just came up. So Councilwoman Rakowski.
So for clarification, the computers that or item F that's moving, those are computers for the police department purchased under the JAG grant, correct? Okay, so this purchase is really totally separate from the other computer expenditure that was made in the past? Okay.
If I may, Council President.
Please do.
Yes, these are completely and utterly separate from the purchase that was done last year. The computers that we purchased last year, we've been spending the last year configuring them to replace the existing machines. So not every machine that was replaced has been sitting for a year also. We've been waiting until we had our full stockpile of computers replaced before we started looking for a buyer or a program to donate them to. Because we have to still evaluate the equipment to make sure that it's usable, which the majority of them are. Plus, we also have to allocate resources to wiping the hard drives and getting them ready for donation purposes.
I'm not in support of moving it, but I would be in support of the councilwoman creating a different motion under new business for the allocation of the previous computer swap. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this motion?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify with Attorney Falzone, since his recommendation was for me to move it. And so I don't try, as the council president said, to do something illegal in this meeting. If this motion or this item is not to be moved, because I'm not in objection, I'm not in objection to the laptops for our police department, but I would like the city to put a plan in place today to utilize this to benefit our citizens. So can you advise me, is it an opportunity for me to make a singular motion once we get under new business without moving this item?
Yes, if you have the support of your council, you could.
Thank you. I withdraw my motion. Thank you.
Back to the original motion on the consent calendar, Councilman McDermott.
Thank you. Just two quick questions. Number one, through the chair to the administration, in regards to item C with the GIS proposal that we will be voting on tonight here on the consent calendar. I noticed that we got multiple bids on that, and there was one bid that looked like G&K International that came in a little lower than GIS. Can we speak to ultimately why we chose to go with GIS services? It looks like a number of municipalities here in Southeast Michigan are also utilizing them, but if we could speak to why we ultimately chose the GIS proposal, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Greg, can you answer that, please?
Yes, through the chair to Councilmember McDermott. So we did receive multiple bids for our GIS services. The lowest bidder at approximately $129,000. I decided after review of their proposal to pass on them and go with the second lowest bidder, which was Ritter GIS, at approximately $210,000. The reason why I moved that, I did spell out in the letter recommendation, there were a number of points that's associated with the, I believe it's SDK International bid. They are an international company that is not based in Michigan. The requirements of the proposal were not met by them on a number of points. For example, any on-site work, like doing GIS surveys, doing inspections would have to be outsourced by them, and they would be billed separately than the original bid, which a requirement of the bid is all those services were supposed to be all rolled in. The proposed staff that they were going to provide us did not have GIS P credentials, which was another requirement. Another thing is they have not worked with CityWorks, which is our main GIS work management program that's used by DPS along with other companies, which again, that was in our requirement that they would have to support that. They're not partnered with that company. They've not used it. The list goes on. I think there was approximately 11 items in the letter of recommendation as to why I passed on them. Because the additional costs that were involved, plus the potential drop in service that we would have been provided versus what Ritter GIS and the other companies would be able to provide us.
Perfect. Thank you. Nothing further.
Are there any other questions from the council? Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you. Through the chair to the city attorney, if we could just get a brief explanation on item C, was talked about already that there's an ethics commission document in the packet. Just curious why that would be in there or who filled it out when there is no commission. I don't know if you can elaborate on that. I'd appreciate it.
You're muted, Mr. Fasson.
Okay, I'm going to pull the document up. So yes, I can. Thank you through the chair. The disclosure, the vendor disclosure statement, which is in all RFP packages, is based on the ethics ordinance. While the comments at the start of this meeting dealt with questions about the Board of Ethics, the ethics ordinance is actually broader than the Board of Ethics. And my guess is the Board of Ethics is more narrow than people understand because they haven't read the ordinance in a while. And that's not a surprise. But this particular vendor disclosure statement is in here, as in every package, for the purpose as stated in the top of the vendor disclosure statement on page 56. Quote, the vendor must disclose any substantial interest held by any city official or city employee or their immediate family member in the vendor's business, close quote. So that's why it's in there, so that if the company was owned by a department head or a city council member, it would be disclosed and identified by purchasing and brought to the attention of city council. Certain conflicts can be waived as long as they're identified. So the document is about identifying the potential conflict or interest that somebody such as a city council member might have or administration may have. And that's why it's in there. It has really nothing to do with the Board of Ethics sitting, and somebody used the word vetting the document. They're not charged with vetting the document under the ordinance in any event. So that's why it's in.
Thank you very much for explaining that. I thought that was important. It was filled out by the vendor, so that clears it up. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the council? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg,
Yes.
Councilman Londo,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting held August 17, 2020. Adoption of land division resolution, parcel number 0729900037716, which is the former Eloise property, City of Westland, north side of Michigan Avenue between Henry Ruff and Merriman. This was Planning Department number 2241. And this land division was approved by City Council August 17, 2020. Approval of bid for geographic information services to the current provider, Ritter GIS, annual amount $210,000. Approval of bid for network infrastructure reconfiguration. Administration recommended the lowest bidder, Infinity Technology Group, in the amount not to exceed $30,268.28. Approval of subscription renewal, BSNA tax and special assessing modules. Administration recommended approval of the annual subscription renewal in the amount of $5,432. Approval of purchase of 10 laptop computers. Administration recommended the purchase of the 10 laptops from CDWG in the amount not to exceed $19,110.05. Approval of subscription renewal Manage Engine. Administration recommended approval for the help desk and desktop management software in the amount of $7,080. Approval of subscription renewal Trend Micro. Administration recommended approval of the annual antivirus subscription through CDWG in the amount of $6,075. Approval of subscription renewal WatchGuard. Administration recommended approval through CDWG in the amount of $5,379. Approval of purchase of 10 radar signs. Administration recommended approval from Eland City in the amount not to exceed $27,285. Adoption of prepared resolution to approve a precinct location change for precinct 28, Burning Bush Ministries, to be cited in the Christ Temple Apostolic Faith Church on a permanent basis. Moving to new business, item 1A. Risk management software approval, Alto Vista Technologies. Administration recommends approval of the software program in the amount of $12,083.
So moved, Londo. Support, Hersberg.
I have a motion by Councilman Londell, supported by Councilman Godbout. Chief, you had something to show us about this?
Yeah, thank you, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you guys in our community the new Westland Police Transparency Dashboard. Before I get into it, I kind of want to start by saying that the Westland Police Department, we recognize the need to maintain law enforcement transparency with the community. We continue to build upon the concept. We continue to strive towards ways to build community trust and confidence. As you know, Westland Police Department, we began the mission back in 2014 when we committed to national accreditation through CLIA. Since 2014, we've reviewed, modified, and updated every single policy and procedure we have with the department, including our processes and our review systems. 2016, we earned the gold standard accreditation for law enforcement excellence, and we've been reaccredited every year since. And then in 2018, we took the step towards the transparency commitment with body-worn camera program. Westland was one of the first agencies in the state of Michigan to fully implement body-worn cameras for every single police officer and patrol car, and I think we've all seen that this program's proven to be effective. Well, today I'm proud to announce our next step towards full law enforcement transparency. The Westland Police Department has partnered with law enforcement intelligence leader Alta Vista Technology. This company created a new intelligence risk management software program called ARCS Alert. This management application is designed to help prevent problems from occurring within police agencies. The program allows for 2 configurable user dashboards. The first one's an internal dashboard, which will provide data directly to me to help analyze the department on risk factors, such as officer use of force, pursuits, officer productivity, and behavior patterns. The second dashboard, we will provide up-to-date transparency information about the police department to the public. And this is what a lot of our communities have been asking for, and communities throughout the country have been asking for. The public dashboard is going to show the public things like crime rates, arrest data, citation data, citizens complaints, our use of force, our training for all of our 81 officers and our 25 civilian employees. I'm proud to announce that the program is now completely accessible through the cityofwestland.com. After tonight, if anybody wants to click on the Westland Police page or even the Open Government page, and you can click on the Police Transparency Dashboard and start playing around with it and get a feel for it. Westland Police Department is one of the very first agencies in the state of Michigan to have implemented such a comprehensive data management and awareness platform. And I just wanted to add before I demonstrate it for you that no one can ignore all the recent and highly publicized events occurring with African Americans and some law enforcement officers. And many police organizations, including our own, are taking a closer look at our use of force, our policies, our training, and our accountability systems. And we truly believe that this partnership will improve community relations and help keep Westland a safe place to be. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch over to my screen share, and I'm going to show you guys this product. So what I want to start off with is, sorry, let me move some of this out of the way here, is when you go to the City of Westland's webpage, you go to the police department, you can find the transparency portal, and you can access this directly through there or through the Open Government page, like we said. First thing I want to, when you click on, you're going to see this right here. This is kind of an introductory paragraph. Over to the right, we now have all of our Westland Police Department policies and procedures that are available to the community. You can see, access all the policies and procedures here. I'll try to, and the rules and regulations. The next thing I want to show you here to the right is what's kind of the key to this whole thing. Is this is the 2019 bias-based police report. And so basically the community dashboard, let me see if I can click on that for you here. The community dashboard provides data which is pulled directly from our CLEMIS reporting system. Simply reviewing data does not answer all the questions, and oftentimes it creates more questions for people. Each year, we conduct a complete bias-based police review of our entire police department. Bias-based policing is defined as the selection of an individual or individuals for the enforcement action based in whole or in part on a trait common to a group without actionable intelligence to support consideration of that trait. This includes, but not limited to, race, ethnic background, national origin, gender, sexual orientation or identity, religion, economic status, age, culture group, or identifiable characteristics. This report dives deep into how we obtained these numbers and explanations on what those numbers reveal to us afterwards. What I'm going to do here is I want to kind of scroll down a little bit and give everybody a little bit of a feel of what the dashboard is going to show everyone. So start off right here is our citation transparency. This is a 5-year review of all citations issued by the Westland Police Department. We're able to show monthly totals for each year by hovering a cursor over each month. In the graph, it'll show ticket numbers for each year. It also shows a 5-year trend. And I apologize, I got a little bit of delay here, so I'm trying to work with that with you guys here. It also, as you scroll down a little bit, it gives you a 5-year trend on the department. You can see here, for example, in 2018 and 2019, we began to more aggressively enforce certain laws and ordinances such as snow emergencies and fireworks and selective enforcement detail, which reflects the increase here. As we go a little bit farther down, we have a breakdown of our citation demographic. What this shows is the percentage of violations issued to race over a 5-year trend. So you can hover over any one of these bar charts for that information. The next 2 pie charts are 2019 citation percentages specific for race and gender. It'll show citations issued to white people, citations issued to Black people, and then there's some others and some other races that we have in there. Also, we have the same thing with females in male gender breakdown. As we scroll a little bit farther down, the arrest transparency is similar to what I showed you on with the citation transparency. This is a 5-year review of all arrests made by the Westland Police Department. We're able to show monthly totals for each year by hovering over the cursor, over the graph, and I can also show you the 5-year trend. As you can see, a couple of things that, to explain, you can see a decline in arrests over the past couple of years. This is largely contributed to lower crime rates, but mainly decriminalization of marijuana and driving on suspended license forgiveness programs. Historically, those 2 charges have been our highest arrest numbers, and so you can see the decline in those right there. The next 2 pie charts are a breakdown of race and gender for arrests. Same thing, you can hover over the pie charts that give you those numbers there. We took a step further here with a breakdown of all of our 2019 arrests by age. By hovering the cursor over the bar charts, you can see that, for example, the highest arrest age we have are people that are 28 years old. These numbers are captured in a few different ways. They include custodial arrests, persons arrested but posting bond. They also include persons that were cited or summoned on a scene. This is important to understand because as you play around and you look through the bar charts, you're going to see, for example, over here at 8 years old, the chart shows that we arrested an 8-year-old child. Well, actually, in this scenario, this was a runaway child that was located by a police officer and then taken back home to his parents. But statistically, it would be logged and categorized as an arrest. So that's why some of those numbers are that way. The next section here I want to show is our training transparency. It shows a long list of the training courses and the hours that our officers receive every single year. This is going to be available to the public to take a look at. Scroll a little bit farther down is our use of force transparency and our response to resistance. The pie charts here show 2019 force cases where officers were used to use force against offenders providing resistance. These charts are specific by race and also by gender. The next bar chart details the types of force that officers had to use as a response to resistance. So as you hover over, you can see things like verbal commands, show the most often we're using verbal commands, but some other things to kind of explain, like firearm display, for example. As you see, we require all of our officers to document every single firearm display. These are most often incidents that involve felony stops, such as a fleeing and eluding case or a stolen vehicle. So we scroll down a little bit farther, we have our 2019 use of force bar chart, which shows the number of Westland Police uses of force and then correlates them to the type of crime or police call that the officer was used and associated. For example, if you hover over domestic violence, that's the highest number of resisting arrest use of force cases the Westland Police Department had. Oftentimes, this is because officers are already responding to a violent situation. Sometimes the persons involved are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And then a little bit farther down, we have our 2019 use of force pie chart that breaks down the reason for uses of force. Some things like necessary to effect arrest, necessary to defend others. This is another nice piece right here called the Citizens Complaint Transparency. This is a 2019 pie chart that shows the percentage breakdown of what types of citizens complaints we receive and also the dispositions of those complaints. Further, there's a percentage breakdown of the citizens complaints based on race and gender. You can see the complaints here. One of the categories is unknown. So we investigate every single complaint that comes into the Westland Police Department. Some of them are anonymous complaints. So we're still going to log them, we're still going to investigate them, but we may not know the race or the gender of the person that filed that complaint right there. And then we've got some breakdown on some things like what types of complaints that we're getting. And like I said up front, some of the dispositions of those complaints. Another piece that I think is pretty important to take a look at is our police pursuits. They're listed here for under purposes of pursuit, the reasons of pursuits, dispositions of the pursuits, and both again with gender and race. And as you can kind of see, the most common police pursuits initiated off of a traffic violation, but there's a number of other reasons, stolen vehicles, things like that. We also have the breakdown of how a lot of our pursuits ended. For example, the most common time it's a decision by a supervisor. And, what it really comes down to is our policies at the police department. Our determining factors on the risk of a pursuit is when the risk to the public outweighs the immediate need to apprehend somebody. And if the risk outweighs the immediate need, we're going to terminate the pursuit. But there's all the statistics for everything else on there too: capture of the suspect, vehicle becoming disabled. And then again, there's some race breakdown for the pursuits and gender breakdowns also. This is a new piece that we just added that's pretty interesting for the public. It's going to be our calls for service transparency. There's a paragraph here that kind of breaks down how all of our calls for service are classified by priority in the numbers that we have each year. And this is one that I really like here. This is a day-to-day breakdown of the numbers of calls for service that we're handling on any given day. Just maybe you hover over our lowest day, for example, is Christmas. Christmas, we had 38 calls for service that day, but you could scroll over to a day over here where July 17th, we had 122 calls for service. So let me try to get out of this screen share here in a second. Stop the share. There we go. As you can see, there's a lot that goes into this program. We're working on a daily basis to streamline the data. That's the largest component of this whole program. We're going to begin using the ARCS alert reporting forms with our data collection versus the multiple different sources that we're currently using. I encourage you to look at the program, and if you have questions, council, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd like to explain it to you. But we're really proud of this program, and again, I want to give a lot of credit to the ARCS alert Alta Vista people, along with my Deputy Chief Brian Miller's put a ton of work into this and streamlining all of the data into the program. So I know I shared a lot with you. It's on the website. It's active today. So please take a look at it and give me some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any discussion from the maker or supporter?
No, Council President, just want to thank the chief for that great presentation. I'll be taking a look at that tonight. Thank you.
Councilman Godbout, any discussion from you?
No.
Up we have a discussion from Councilman Michael McDermott.
Good evening, and thank you, Chief, for that presentation. Myself and my colleague, Councilman Herzberg, had the opportunity to actually meet with Chief Jed Ruzick and Lieutenant Dolly this past week to discuss this further. So I just wanted to say that, I'll be in support of this, and I think this is, one good step amongst many that we need to take to really bring openness and transparency to our police department. And I'm proud of everyone who really work to make this initiative happen and make our department one of the most open and transparent here in the metro area. So thank you, Chief. Thank you to everybody who put in the work on that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. Just two quick questions for the chief. How often will this be updated? Will it be updated daily when things happen? And then my second question is, did you consider or will you consider in the future maybe getting response times available on the dashboard as well?
Through the chair, yeah, this is still a work in progress. We're still trying to pull a lot of this together. The difficult part about that we're coming across right now is that obviously every day statistics change, when you're doing up to date. So the goal is going to be that we're going to update this on a weekly basis if we're going to continue to do things through 2020. Right now, what we did is we've captured the entire year of 2019 and the 5 years previously with the data that we have, because we know that data is not going to change. As we continue to work through this process, yeah, we're going to try to implement all of that stuff. We're certainly going to try to take a look at response times too.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes, I too wanted to thank Chief Jedrzejczyk and our police department for your hard work and for all of the work that went into offering this presentation tonight. Thank you, and we support what you do for our city. And because we only have one other item before we approve the vouchers and go to public comment, I want to circle back through the chair to City Attorney Falzone and ask you at what point during this new business portion should I interject with the motion we discussed?
Councilwoman, I'll go ahead and call on you right after this agenda item. I will commit that to you.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Fasson, can you address the question?
Certainly, thank you, through the chair. Where we started was there was a item on the consent calendar that was going to be moved to new business. And if it had been moved to new business, then a motion to amend that item to add in the donation policy could have been brought forward. And if supported by the council, would have become a part of that motion that was already on the agenda related to the computers. I think it was item F. In terms of putting a new motion on the agenda, if you will, during the meeting or off the cuff, during the conversation here, I had a chance to go check your council policies and look at Article 4 on your setting your city council agenda, which has specific
Jim, are you
section
still
3
there?
of Section 3 of Article 4 of the council procedures allow for any item shall be placed on the agenda by written request of any 3 council members. And Section 4 of that article deals with emergency items, and maybe this falls into that category, maybe it doesn't, but emergency agenda items and or requests for an addendum to an agenda may be approved at the discretion of the president or pro tem via the city clerk. So there, under your own procedures, there's not a particular way to put a motion on a donation policy fresh on the agenda. I thought it was going to be linked to the other matters. So your own policies create some limitations on how to proceed during this particular meeting.
Thank you, Attorney Falzone. There was a meeting that we had, I want to say it was 2 meetings ago, when I submitted the resolution to declare racism a public health crisis, and there was no particular rule in reference to Jim Hart listing himself as the maker instead of referencing me, who was the actual maker, as he does everyone else. However, at that time, I was told that because the policy did not, there was no policy that specifically spoke to that particular instance, then it would be based on what he said was best practices. And I believe our city council operates according to Robert's Rules of Order, do we not? And so if we operate by Robert's Rules of Order, I believe Robert's Rules of Order would allow that. Am I incorrect?
We do operate when items aren't otherwise addressed by Robert's Rules of Orders. I'm not sure what you mean, allow that.
What I'm stating is Robert Rules of Order does not prohibit a request for a motion regarding an item that is not necessarily on the agenda. I've been at several municipality meetings and there have been motions made relative to items, line items that were on or off the agenda. And I specifically asked you prior to removing my motion, if I were to do so, is there an opportunity for me to make this exact motion during new business? Your legal instruction at that time was yes. Now,
if you have support of your council members.
right, I'm not concerned about the support of my council members. I'm concerned about doing the best thing for my citizens. When I asked you if that were possible, your instruction as our city attorney was, yes, it would be. And now you're in fact telling me that there's nothing that speaks to this particular motion, the type of motion that I now want to make. You're telling me that it may not, it may not be required, but when there was no documented policy relative to the resolution I put forward, Jim Hart was able to take credit or list himself as the maker for the resolution that I made due to best practices. So would this not be considered, because again, Robert's Rules of Order does not prohibit this. So are you, I'm trying to understand, you told me, yes, I could have just left my motion to move it. I was supported by Peter, or excuse me, Councilman Hersberg.
Look, Jim.
Go ahead.
You are correct, but we run by Robert's Rules of Order. But Robert's Rules of Order do not supersede council policies and procedures. We have to run in accordance to Robert's Rules of Order as long as they do not serve in conflict with the policies and procedures or the charter of the city of Westland. So Article 4 of our policies and procedures speaks clearly to what it takes to have an agenda item on or an agenda item off. The spirit behind this is so that we don't add items at the last minute, because residents who would have looked at the agenda item that was posted publicly, or us council members earlier, would have time to research what's being asked of the council and being able to offer input. That's why this policy is in place, so that we're not adding items at the last minute to an agenda that no one else had a chance to know that was going to be on the agenda. Our council members who might want to do research on this, or our residents who might want to ask questions about this. Now they would have had no opportunity to ask any question. So adding this onto our agenda is not permitted under the council policies and procedures. And there's a reason why, and that's the reason why. Now, I'm ready to be done with this thing, but Mr. Fasson, do you have anything else to offer to that?
I'm done, and I was the person speaking. I have something else to say. Thank you, Council President. And while I appreciate your response, it has to be obvious that I was given incorrect information by our city attorney earlier in the meeting, who we pay as the city of Westland. We pay his law firm almost $1 million a year. So he is in no way unfamiliar with the request that I just made earlier in the meeting. Now you get to the second portion of the meeting and you try to rip the rug up from under me. So, you know, I'll move on. But here's my question, Council President or City Attorney Falzone. Am I able to make a motion during my comments that could council could either support or decline at that time? Because I'm happy to make the motion at that time. I'm very disappointed in you giving me incorrect information and then now trying to support what Council President Hart stated in the beginning was his disapproval for me even placing this motion on the floor when we have over $200,000 worth of good computers, some of them new computers sitting in storage while we have a city full of citizens and children who are still scrambling for computers. So am I able to put this motion on the floor when I speak during my comments? Or is that
through the chair, councilperson, the comments by the public, the mayor, the city attorney, and the council members are not part of the business meeting. So you could not make a motion during your comments or any of the other council member comments. It's not part of the business meeting.
And you haven't, just so I'm clear, how long have you been sitting in as our city attorney and overseeing our meetings with as our legal advisor?
Councilman Green, the question was raised. We came off agenda to answer your question, but now we're not going to go back and forth. We have to stick to our agenda and we have to stick towards a business meeting. Berating the attorney and continuing on is no way to move. So that's the end of it. If you want to talk to him after this about that, that's fine. We're going back to the business agenda.
I'm not going back and forth. I just think it's terribly disrespectful what happened from an attorney that we're paying almost $1 million a year.
Thank you for your input.
New business, item 1, approval to accept letter of intent from Albert Phoenix to express his interest in participating on the Marijuana Business Review Board.
So moved, Rutkowski.
Motion by Councilman Rutkowski.
Support Londo.
Support by Councilman Londo. Any discussion from the maker?
All I have to say is, after reviewing Mr. Phoenix's resume, he seems like quite an accomplished man, and I think he would serve the city very well on the review board. Thank you.
Any discussion from the supporter?
I'll echo those same comments. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business, item 2, approval of voucher.
So moved. Hersberg.
There's a motion by Councilman Hersberg.
Support McDermott.
Support by Councilman McDermott, excuse me. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We now move to citizens' comments section. Everyone speaking before the council should do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the orderly conduct of the business meeting. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, other speakers, or members of the public will not be tolerated. The clock will start upon the first words of the speaker and will not stop while the speaker is recognized from the floor. It is the speaker's option to ask questions at this time, and the person questioned may choose to respond during the speaker's allotment of time. The clock will not be stopped once it is started. I have a number of hands raised. I will start with phone number ending in 829.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, I
Can
can
you hear
hear
me?
you. Yep, I can hear you. Please begin.
Yes, my name is Greg Raymond. My company is RNA Tool and Engineering. We are located at 39127 Ford Road next to the railroad tracks. RNA Tool has been in business since 1946. We've been in Westland taxpayers since 1968. As an automotive supplier, I'll be honest, we struggled in recent years because of the offshore low-cost pricing. We have watched our workforce fall from close to 50 co-workers down to 12 today. It's been challenging to keep our doors open. So rather than close our shop, we decided in February after our property was designated as a potential marijuana micro business zone to pursue a marijuana license. However, because of COVID-19 and the delays, our state application for pre-qualification from the Michigan Marijuana Regulatory Agency took over 6 months to receive. We finally got our approval from the state of Michigan on September 1st, 6 weeks after the Westland application deadline. Now, I realize the importance of rules and deadlines, but no one could have ever foreseen the impact of this virus on our federal, state, and city government officials. Many governmental departments were temporarily shut down and courts were closed. When they finally reopened, MRA applications were set aside because of other more pressing court matters. So the reason I'm here tonight is to ask this council to give my crew an opportunity for a future, to allow our marijuana business license application to be counted and evaluated with the other applications. It seems unfair to penalize not just us, but our city from the chance to evaluate what we think is not only an outstanding location, but a standout business plan that will benefit our municipality, our employees, and most importantly, the Westland community. So again, I am humbly asking this board to please allow our application to be counted and evaluated with the other proposals. Really, what does Westland have to lose by reviewing our applications? Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Pruitt.
Thank you again, Pastor Edward here, Better Westland. On August 3rd, 2020, the resolution for racism is a health crisis was passed unanimously by each and every one of you sitting on the Westland City Council. In that resolution, it called for the establishment of a commission with duty expectations as it relates to diversity, racism being a health crisis, so on and so forth. The expectation is that the mayor will fill the seats in 90 days. This would mean that this resolution will require its filling by no later than the close of business on November 1st, 2020, which is a Sunday. Thus far, 36 out of 90 days, more than a third of the time has passed. Any CEO, as he likes to call himself, would know that the work must be done to meet goals and expectations. You cannot wait until the last minute to begin the work to get the job done. Failing to act proactively is reflective of a person disdainful of the task at hand, disdainful of the body that set the expectation, and or disdainful as it relates to the government of the people who elected him or her. In this last 36 days, the mayor had made time to campaign for candidates, namely one that is outside of Westland, even taking partial days or time from work to do so. I can imagine that if he had time to do that, he had his work caught up. But let's see. As of 6:35 p.m. this evening, there is no option on the electronic application for commissions and boards for this position. As of 6:35 p.m. this evening, there is no description of this commission on the city website where it should be. As of 6:35 p.m. this evening, there is a clear deprioritization of this unanimously passed resolution. How are people to apply? Time is ticking. On August 5th, 2 days after the passing of this resolution, Governor Whitmer issued an executive directive and order concerning the same topic. That's like a resolution and an order. Where is the ordinance for this resolution? The mayor has demonstrated his unwillingness to do what is expected of him, for example, the Ethics Commission. Are you willing to choose the mayor over the people of Westland? Are you willing to accept the mayor deprioritizing your words passed unanimously? It is time for you to act and act appropriately. Create an ordinance for this resolution, mandate that mayor to fill the Ethics Commission. Lastly, now the mayor may have a retort, but his gift of gab is seen as just that, the ability to deceive through words. Why deception? Because his actions, when done, demonstrated rooted in racism components such as tokenism and or are not done. He's a smooth talker, but action is lacking. We are demanding action from him and from you. Do what you are paid to do. Work for the people. Thank you.
All right. Next, I have Miss Denise Sedman.
Hello, council people. Thank you for working hard on the behalf of Westland citizens. The reason I wanted to talk is, as a person who watches these council meetings, and I also have attended them, sometimes it gets very aggravating when there's bickering going on between council people and then maybe the attorney. For example, the issue about the computers that might be available to donate is a perfect example of something that can be useful for the community. However, if it's a good idea right this second, it'll be a good idea 2 weeks from now. And we don't need to hear this bickering back and forth about is it allowed on the calendar? Can we put it on the agenda? Can't we put it on the agenda? And how long have you been an attorney? And let me see your law degree or whatever it is. Is the ink wet on your law degree? Anyway, so I make jest there, but the point is if it's a good idea today, and if it's not allowed to be on the agenda, it'll be a good idea 2 weeks from now. And I thank Tasha Green for bringing up the idea of looking at those computers for support, for community support. Okay, thanks.
All right, next I have Vivian Nyland.
Hello, everyone on the City Council. I'm glad to speak with all of you this evening. I often watch your meetings from home, which I'm glad that you've been able to have these meetings over Zoom like this. The reason I wanted to speak tonight was my husband and I have lived in Westland for over 40 years. And we've been at our present property. I don't want to give out our address. I hope you can understand that. But we've been at this location for almost 34 years. And we happen to be a house on the corner that has a yellow fire hydrant. And what happened was we started noticing, this fire hydrant hasn't been painted in a long time. It's got a lot of rust on it. And then we started talking with some of the neighbors that live around us and across the street. And one of the neighbors said that she heard some story, I don't know if it's true or not, that a few weeks ago there was a barn that burnt down. And part of the reason it burnt down, it couldn't be saved, was because the fire hydrant wasn't working nearby. And so then we started thinking, gee, I wonder if this fire hydrant works. So I called the city, and someone came to check it out a week ago. It was someone from your maintenance department. There was a City of Westland truck out there. And he told my husband, he said, no, your fire hydrant is broken. It doesn't work. And I'm like, gee, that's really nice to know. So the reason I wanted to come and speak to the meeting is because I don't think it's acceptable for the City of Westland to not do proper maintenance on the fire hydrants of the citizens, whether they be a residential homeowner or if it's a business. Fire hydrants are very important and they need to be maintained. And I hope that there's other people out there like me watching this meeting and hearing me talk about the fire hydrants, and to get after you folks to, hey, let's have a regular maintenance schedule. Now, what's interesting is I did call again on Friday. I spoke with the deputy fire chief. He says, well, we'll try and get someone out there as soon as we can. Well, somebody came out this afternoon and they looked at it again and they left. The fire hydrants still doesn't work. It needs to be replaced. It needs to be painted. And I'm very concerned about this. And I'll just let you folks know, I might go on some of the Westland Facebook pages and post this. And I hope you guys get a lot of calls about this. And maybe you can come up with a proper schedule to maintain your fire hydrants. Thank you.
Mayor, I see you had your hand raised. Did you want to provide her some information or ask her to call you?
Yeah, Council President, can we let the fire chief respond, please?
Given the severity of this, I would agree. Chief?
Thank you, and through the chair to Ms. Nyland. I'll clear a couple things up. The fire hydrant does annual inspections on the hydrants. That starts every September. Through City Works, every hydrant is tagged. We go through, make sure every hydrant is dry. We do not flow the hydrants. The maintenance, any maintenance is done by the DPS department. We do make sure that the departments, make sure that the caps open, close, that there's no debris inside, and that the hydrants don't have water in them so they don't freeze for the winter. We did have a barn fire. We did have a hydrant that didn't work. We have plans and policies and procedures in place to account for stuff like that, which is why our fire trucks, each one carrying well over excess of 1,000 feet of street line that we would connect to a hydrant. That barn did not burn down because of an inadequate water supply or a broken hydrant. That barn was already collapsing under fire conditions on our first unit's arrival. It was a very well-involved fire. And any hydrant that we do find that needs maintenance or some type of repair is immediately notified to DPS through City Works, which immediately creates a work ticket for DPS, and they're usually out within a day to make that correction.
Thank you, Chief. All right, moving on. We'll hear from Ray Schuholtz. Ray, are you there? Ray?
Hello?
There you are, Ray. Go ahead.
Yeah, this I wanted to see. As was my first time using the Zoom, and I've been having a hard time with it, but we finally got it working. But I just wanted to make sure no one forgot me. I've been watching this. I have been watching it in my car in Westland. I've been watching it, and sometimes what the other citizens just said was, sometimes I do hear a lot of that on the council. The councils should be able to work, together. It's like I said before, a lot of times I feel that the respect is thrown underneath the rug. We need to remove that rug and put respect in place. To give respect, to get respect. That's exactly what it is. And I'm also going to be doing a webinar, 36 years of the making. I am looking forward to it. Mental health. We don't want to forget about under the rug. We need to pull that under the, take it out under the rug, because Suicide Awareness Month is here. And it's important to recognize that I'm an ambassador of the DWIMHA. And the phone number for, in case someone is in crisis, that prevent early enough, hopefully we can get these numbers down, is 1-800-241-4949. And I'm looking forward. So far, 135 people signed up for my webinar. I am going to be dropping this webinar off to the fire department, police department, and City Hall over there, and the mayor's office. Because this webinar, I want people to learn from me more in detail. 36 years ago could be from discrimination. Where we are today, I'm telling you something, I'm living a life today. But I do want to talk about the past, because it's important for the past doesn't repeat itself again. Everybody has been through different walks of life. We have to understand, with people with different challenges, disabilities, they have been discriminated against too. And I think sometimes people forget about that. I had a hard life, and I walked this life, and I know what it feels like. Right now, I'm beginning respect. I'm going to a church now that people look up to me, people respect me, and that's what I love. Respect. That's all it is. And I want to thank the police department. Sometimes they need to be recognized too, and the fire department and grocery stores, to say thank you for your service. When I see a police officer out there, I tell them thank you for what you're doing.
All right, Ray. Hey, Ray, I appreciate it. Your time's up today, okay?
Okay, boy, time flies. Thank
you.
you.
Got it. Thanks, Ray. Next, we have Deanna Adams-Stachow. Deanna.
Yes, hi, good evening, President Hart, City Council, and Mayor Wild. Yeah, I am Deanna Adams-Stachow, precinct delegate representing the 16th precinct of Westland. This was through the chair to Richard LeBlanc, but I don't know if he's available at this time, so there might be some input from other council. I've received a few calls in regard to the mailing in the voting, and I was hoping that he could go over some of the points for the mail-in ballots and when they're going to be sent out, what the voters need to pay attention to, certainly signature and other points. And then what method of return that they can use, because they may not even be aware of the more than one mail-in and drop-off areas for the city that is in place. So I was hoping that that could be addressed if Richard LeBlanc is not there, city, then maybe someone else can add to that. Thank you very much.
All right, are there any other questions from the public? Phone number ending 017.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Council President Hart. Richard Graham from Move Westland Forward. Look forward to being on Ray Schulholz's webinar next week. Question, once the meetings go back to in-person, is there an option to continue these virtually? I assume it would be possible to do that. And really nothing better than to have more citizen participation, whether in person or via virtually. One thing I think that's maybe come about regarding COVID is, the ability to have more citizens be involved with our political process. So hopefully, once we start these back in person, that they can still be held virtually to allow more citizens to be present. Regarding computers, excellent suggestion by Councilwoman Green, figuring out what to do with these computers. Kind of surprised that they're sitting in storage. Would have thought that, it would be great to be able to hand those out, especially children, especially working virtually, or I'm sorry, going to school virtually. Would be very compassionate to be able to, get those computers into the hands of people that need them, and really not very compassionate to have them sitting in storage. Regarding the ethics board, thank you, Council, through this chair to City Attorney Falzone. Thank you for that detailed explanation of that, of how the inner workings of that. At some point, maybe I'll read through those documents in more detail to gain a better understanding. But the crux of it, though, is the ethics board that has been vacant for 14 years under Mayor Wild. And it seems like the continued non-support of Team Wild, especially Council President Hart and Council President Pro Tem, not to call a study session for this when it's been requested for many, many months. It's about 11 weeks now, and no study session. It frankly shows that no one really cares to have that study session, to have the ethics board. I'm not sure how else you can paint it other than that. Even there's an elder care for our seniors that Councilman Herzberg, I think, brought up. Let's call it 11 weeks ago, also in a study session. There's definitely issues with elder care in our community, and some of the owners that own those facilities. That would be good also. With that, I think that's it. One other thing, there is, I think, a new employee that we see in the Economic and Planning Department. So welcome aboard. Good luck to Nicole Reddy Jones. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll move to comments from the administration. Mayor.
Thank you, City Council President. Thank you, Council, and good evening, everybody. A few things here. First of all, thank you to the police chief tonight for his launch of the new risk management software through Alta Vista Technologies. I think what you're going to see is that Westland is going to be the very first agency in Southeast Michigan, if not all of Michigan, that's going to launch this transparency dashboard. So once we get this thing up and fully functional, the question came up about how often is it updated. Once it's fully functional, it's actually updated twice a day. So we're going to probably have definitely a leadership role in this. Hopefully other communities will see the benefit like Westland has, and I encourage City Council to actually go on the website. I don't know if it's on there yet tonight, but if not, tomorrow to take a look at it. And I encourage the residents to do so as well. And I know that the police chief will be talking quite a bit more about this over the next coming days. The question came up tonight about the laptops, and I appreciate the fact that it did come up. Council, if you remember, during the budgeting process, we did have a conversation with City Council about what were the plans for the laptops that were coming out of service. So what I'll do is I'll work with the IT department this week, and we will get you an update on where exactly we're at in the rollout of the new computers. Well, those computers, if they're in storage now, if you remember back to the budget session, we had talked about what were we going to do with those. So we'll take a look and see, first of all, what the resale value is, and second of all, we can figure out a way. We'll work together with council to see if there is a use for it that overweighs the resale value. So I'll get with Craig Brown tomorrow, and we will put something together to bring it to City Council. But at the end of the day, the laptops are just like police vehicles and trucks that we take out of service. We dispose of them, and we'll do the right thing with these as well. I'd like to thank Commissioner Anderson for his words in the beginning. Today, they officially moved that money for Hubbard Park, and council, you remember you recently approved the new project for Hubbard Park, and the final obstacle was the county commission approving those grant funds today. So that's good news. That'll be moving forward, and that's something I think we'll all be excited about. Council and the public, this is this weekend coming up, September 11th through the 13th, is the annual citywide garage sale. So if you'd like to have a garage sale this weekend, there are no permits required. If you contact the City of Westland, there is an interactive map that's free of charge that we can get your information on. That's pretty helpful if you'd like to drive traffic to your house. Council, on September 18th at 6 p.m. at the Bova Post at 6440 Hicks Road, there will be the annual POW MIA ceremony. It's open to the public, and WLND will be out there that day to record it. For those folks that are not able to attend, once again, that's September 18th at 6 p.m. at the Bova Post. Remind council that September 30th is the last day to complete the census. I know there's been some lawsuits and stuff going on in Washington to perhaps extend that back a little bit, but at this point, until we get further notice, we're looking at September 13th or September 30th will be the last day to complete the census. I know that Mo is working very hard to try to get the last remaining people in our community to participate, and I appreciate the City Council who has helped with that as well, and we'll continue to ask for your support right up until the deadline. Council, you probably saw this week that the City of Westland put out information that we are currently hiring. We're accepting applications for general laborers. This is a civil service position, and there's a process. If you go to the city's website, you can learn more information. It is open until September 29th, so we'll ask you to also help us get the word out if you know of any people in the City of Westland or good candidates. Definitely send them our way. Speaking of jobs, U.S. Fair Thing is going to be hosting a job fair here at City Hall on September 14th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They've got about 100 manufacturing jobs, so there's a lot of opportunity in our community right now for people that are looking for work. Once again, that is going to be here at City Hall, September 14th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's U.S. Fair Thing that is hiring for 100 positions, manufacturing jobs right here in the city of Westland. Council, you should have received a document from the budget department with the council's approval of the engagement with PFM Financial Advisors to handle the city's bond sale for the pension funding bonds. You now have a very detailed timeline. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to Dan or Steve. And our goal will be to try to stick to this timeline. The one part that's a little bit outside of our control is the actuarials that we have to get. It's a third-party actuarial that we request through MERS. We have requested it. I did speak to the CEO of MERS and told them that we're on a very strict timeline here, so we're going to be expecting their cooperation, and we expect it. So we'll keep you updated. But if you want to follow along in the progress on that timeline, it's a great way to do it. City Council, you probably by now you know that we had an accident involving water here at City Hall, and if you've been in, you'll notice that the City Council chambers and several hallways are currently in the process of drying out. It looks like on Labor Day morning, or at least some period over the weekend, that a water hose underneath the City Council kitchen came loose, and we had open water running in City Hall here for quite a while. So thank God that Vic stopped in on Labor Day at 8:30 in the morning. He stopped by to grab something out of his office, and he probably saved us quite a bit of damage. So we appreciate Vic, and we appreciate any, if this caused any hardships for anybody involved. I apologize for that, and it looks like it's going to be a few more days of cleanup here at City Hall. Council, we had talked in the past about putting together some marketing materials for recycling, and a couple updates on that is, first of all, I put an ad hoc committee together to kind of take a look at all the different options that were out there through the simplified recycling website and with what Republic is accepting at the MRF. And so they did a really good job of coming up with some recommendations, and some of the things were things that we talked about before, you know, stickers for the recycling bin. They did have an idea for a magnet for everybody for the refrigerator. I think where we kind of landed was that it'd be putting together an information packet that would go out to each of our residential units that receive curbside recycling. We're going to just ask for a little bit more patience for two things. Number one is we did receive word from the state of Michigan through Eagle. And if you remember, Council, the Nasserini Group put in a grant request to help fund the marketing piece. And we know, I think the grant request was for $50,000. With the ad hoc committee, I believe they put together a budget of about $40,000 for marketing materials. We did receive notice from Eagle this week that says that that they're going to be making their recommendations here shortly. I feel real good about our opportunity here because I believe we're the only community that had to stop a recycling program, and we're going to be restarting it. So I think we're going to score very well. By waiting just a few more days, we might actually get the money to fund that marketing piece. If not, we'll have to use funds within our sanitation budget. And then the other part of that is, since we kind of settled on a packet that we're going to be mailing out to everybody, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get, I believe if we're going to reach out with everybody on recycling, is that we should have information on all the different ways that you can recycle, not just limited to the curbside recycling piece. Because we're also recycling at the drop-off center, and I think we need to make sure people know what we can accept there. And we'll also put in information too for other areas that you can take things locally to recycle. I know glass is a big part of that, and Steve Smith is in conversations now with a local glass recycler. That is some new information. And there's other things that we can recycle in the community too. So as we put this packet together, certainly the bulk of it is going to be what we accept in the blue containers, but we're also going to use this opportunity to stretch out a little bit more some of the recycling opportunities for other things so that you can do in the community. So that concludes my comments for tonight. I'm going to ask council to bear with me a few more minutes because I'd like to make some comments on an issue that came up at the last council meeting. Excuse me. At the last council meeting, council was asked to vote on what was a relatively routine agenda item regarding the Liberator Development Group. And there was a lot of discussion, and some of the comments really gave me pause because there were innuendos of perhaps wrongdoing, in that people were doing things unethically or illegally, or perhaps there was something that wasn't on the up and up about the Liberator Group. So first of all, our housing department is ran by Joanne Campbell. And I know I don't have to tell you guys this, but I think it's fair to Joanne Campbell and the people at home to know is that we're very fortunate to have Joanne. Joanne is probably one of the most, if not the most, respected housing development director in the state of Michigan. Before I hired Joanne, she came to the city from the Detroit HUD office. And so she understands the regulations inside and out. And I think all of us would agree that our housing department is probably one of our best run departments in the city. So with some of the comments, obviously, Ms. Campbell took them to heart because she takes her job very serious. She does a great job for this city. Her reputation means a lot to her, and it means a lot to me. So there were some comments about the Liberator Development Group. So I'm gonna walk City Council through some of the points, because a lot was said at that meeting, and I want the residents of the city of Westland to understand exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, so that there's no confusion whatsoever. First of all, HUD regulations require the city of Westland to allocate 15% of the home program funds to the Community Housing Development Organization. That's the CHODO, and you heard us say CHODO a lot at that meeting. Each year, the annual plan public notice invites nonprofit developers to apply to serve as the city's CHODO. This year, the city only received applications from the Liberator Development Group. The Westland City Council approved the Liberator Development Group for this purpose in the 2020-2021 CDBG Home Annual Plan, which was approved at the May 5th City Council. And I believe all the city council members voted in approval that night. This is the city's 5th year partnering with the Liberator Development Group. The City Council approves the annual Liberator Development Group Development Agreement. The development agreement requires that proceeds of sales and rentals be used to finance the next development project. HUD regulations require that the CHODO board be made up of representation of the communities where the CHODO activities are located. The members of the board that fit that category are Henry Johnson, Ben Lipinski, and Arthur Warren. HUD also requires that representations are on the board that are low and moderate income. Board members Ben Lipinski and Shannon Ziegler fit that qualification. HUD also requires that representatives familiar with housing development serve on the board as well. Board directors Keisha Sanders Hadju, Shannon Ziegler, and Roger Shiflett fit that bill. HUD regulations also allow limited city staff to serve on the CHODO board, and that's Roger Shiflett. He's the deputy director for the housing department. The Liberator Development Group is a legally established nonprofit entity. It's not a City of Westland board or commission. The Liberator Development Group board members are volunteers. They're not paid to serve on the board. The Liberator Development Group board members, they receive no stipend nor financial benefit for serving on the board. The Liberator Development board members are not appointed by the mayor, nor are they approved by the city council. The Liberator Development Group projects are awarded through a bid process, and they must follow all city development requirements. The Liberator Development Group development activities are monitored by city staff to ensure total compliance with HUD and local regulations, ordinances, and requirements. Earlier, I said that we had a 5-year track record with the Liberty Development Group. And what we've done is each year we've done one project with them. In 2016-17, we redeveloped the home on Ogama Court, and we found a new home buyer for it. 17-18, we remodeled, or not we, I should say they remodeled a house on Ontonagon Court, and that resulted in a new home buyer. 18-19, we did 2 projects, a house on Bannister Court and one on Saginaw Court. Both of them were redeveloped. Bannister Court has a new home buyer. Saginaw Court is currently being rented. 19-20, we redeveloped the home on Elias Court and as a home buyer. 19-20, a home on Caledonia Court, redevelopment with a new home buyer. And the project that was on the council agenda was for 2020-21 is a house on Emerson Court, and that's going to be new construction. So we're starting to move beyond redeveloping, foreclosed homes and getting back to building new construction, which is, I think, ultimately is our goal for this area. The Liberator Development Group address is 32150 Dorsey Road. That's the Community Development Center. That's the Jefferson Barnes building. Although the Liberator Development Group does not have office space, their meetings are generally held at Jefferson Barnes. It was also brought up is, are we charging people for rent at Jefferson Barnes? And I'll remind council, there's several nonprofits that lease space currently at Jefferson Barnes, and the amount is based on the amount that they lease. The Jefferson Barnes rental income, it offsets general fund expenses to operate the Jefferson Barnes building. Currently, Wayne Metro Community Action Agency pays $2,205 a month for their space. Macon Transit pays $1,312 per month for their space. National Faith Home Buyers, $840 per month. And Safe Step Beginning Step, which is currently leasing or renting the Dorsey Center, they paid $1,260 per month. And council in June, the city council approved rent increases for all these nonprofits that went into effect on July 1st, 2020. And once again, the rental income from these properties offset the operating costs of Jefferson Barnes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything from their attorney to this evening?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Move to council comments. We'll begin tonight with Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you, Council President Hart. Just a few notes from the meeting here. It was brought up again about the ethics study session as well as the study session for elder issues. There's no date yet, but it's going to be soon. On the elder care side, the resolution is basically done. We got a draft. We're going to sit down in a study session and council may or may not make changes. The ethics, we were going to review the ordinance. I believe that's going to be held relatively soon as well. There were a couple minor delays, but it is what it is. We're going to get it done. And just a reminder, it is up to the administration to appoint that ethics committee. We were just set the study session to review the ordinance. Another note I got, there was a question about if we return to in-person meetings, would we be able to keep the virtual platform for people to watch from home, which is a really interesting question. We're living in a different time nowadays. I think it's something we could look into. I would say doing the meetings this way, I notice right now it says we have 21 attendees and it's also being streamed live on YouTube, which I didn't see those numbers, but it's usually 15 to 20 people. We don't get that many people coming to the meetings when they're in person. So it helps for getting more participation and we can look into it. One of the citizens' comments was kind of concerning about the marijuana application process. He missed the deadline for Westland because the state was slow on their end due to COVID, which I don't think we could have foreseen that. That's a little bit concerning that we are running into it. I hope the city's not liable for anything, but if there's anything we can do to make it fair, I think we should do it. I know that when the process began and council was talking about it last year, there was talk about maybe a round 2 of an application process down the road. sometime, undetermined at this point. So I want to thank you though for bringing that forward and letting council know what was going on there. Just a few more notes here regarding pedestrian signals at the crosswalks. I've gotten a few complaints about them not working at certain intersections or the timing being a little bit off, not enough time to get across the street. The traffic bureau did go out. They went to a few locations. They looked at them. They were all working properly. I think the traffic bureau, the officer did note that some of them were a little bit fast. So if you have any feedback on any of the crosswalks issues, the timing, whether they're not working for the green arrows for the pedestrians, if you could go ahead and reach out to me or actually any of the council members, so we can kind of compile this info and push it onto the county to see if we can get something done. I know the light on Wayne Road near Holiday Park, that was brought up a few times a couple of years ago, and it didn't seem like we were able to get a good response from the county. So on another note, the mayor did bring up the job fair for US Ferrethane. I just want to take a minute to bring that up again. Monday, September 14th, 10 a.m. to 3. When this came up, they did an expansion. And when this came before council, quite a few of the council members had some conversation with the people from that business, encouraging them to hire Westland residents first. And I think that's their motive here behind hosting the job fair here at City Hall. So again, that's September 14th from 10 a.m. to 3. The interviews will take place at the event, by the way. Got another note here. A recent executive order from Governor Whitmer is allowing bowling alleys to reopen. So Oak Lanes on Middle Belt reopens tomorrow, September 9th. Town and Country Lanes on Wayne Road opens tomorrow, September 9th. And Westland Bowl announced that they plan to reopen next week. So when they do open, maybe pull those bowling shoes out. Let's get out and support them. They've been closed really since the beginning of the pandemic, and they've really been hit hard by the shutdown. So let's get out and support them if we can. And then I want to thank Vivian for her comments on the fire hydrants issue. There's a little bit more to that. I live right around the fire that took place at the barn, and I looked out my back door and just saw the smoke and thought, oh my gosh. And actually the whole neighborhood, there was a lot of 911 calls, and a lot of the complaints that I got were about the response time, but I think the response time was fine. The issue is that people were calling 911 for the fire. They were in Hines Park and they were on Ann Arbor Trail. The fire department was called to that location where they were called to. You can't access the barn from that side of the river. So it took additional calls and additional people. They had to come around Merriman Road. They did a good job, and they were there quick. They got the trucks hooked up quick. The barn was really old. I think it was from the 1800s. The wood was very, very dry. So it's not like this thing was burning forever and the fire department never showed. It went up in flames pretty quick. The issue is I got a lot of calls. I got more calls on the fire hydrants than I've got on anything else in the last 2 years or so. And yeah, it did come out on police radio. Yeah, they couldn't get the fire hydrant open. And a lot of the neighbors, they were out there watching and had serious concerns about this. What if it was somebody's home? What if somebody was in there? They looked into it. It came to my attention that DPS was out there the next day at Cowan and Farmington. They inspected it and they said the hydrants were working just fine. I saw some comments about that. And for some reason, the fire department wasn't able to get it open. We need to get to the bottom of that, whether it's tools or purchases or training, whatever it is we need to do, we need to get on top of that. Here again, just a few days ago, there was a fire on Palmer Road. As soon as I heard about it, I turned on the dispatch radio. I was listening, and they said again, can't get the fire hydrant open. We're using water from the truck. A lot of the trucks have a tank. So whatever we need to do, let's get it done to get that fixed. I'm not trying to put anybody down or say anything bad, but when it comes to fires and fire hydrants working or not, that's a pretty serious safety issue. So let's get that cleared up. And then the last thing I have is city council coffee hours are returning. We're going to be having a coffee hour September 19th at Central City Park at 11 a.m. That'll be in Pavilion number 6, which is right by the splash pad. So come on out for a cup of coffee and a conversation and share your ideas with us September 19th at 11 a.m. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start tonight. I'm not sure if it was appropriate, but I was really hoping that Clerk LeBlanc could have addressed the resident, I think it was Deanna Stachow, about her questions on the election process this year. I think that she has a lot of concerns that many residents have, but hopefully we'll get an update before absentee ballots go out. Our next meeting is on Monday, September 21st, so hopefully we'll hear something then. However, I would like to, most people who've been watching the news are familiar with the issues that are taking place with our post office on a national basis. So I would like to, again, just issue a friendly suggestion or recommendation. It is not a requirement, but there are still it is still the possibility of mass delays anticipated possibly throughout our country. So if you have the ability, when you get your absentee ballot, please consider driving it and dropping it off at the clerk's office or placing it in the mail immediately when you after you receive it. I know that our Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is either working on or has already introduced an app that you can actually go to confirm that your absentee ballot has been received. So hopefully when we get the update from the clerk, that'll be discussed, because I think it's very important. A lot of people are concerned about that, and we do want to make sure that the absentee ballots are received for those people who are not able to transport back and forth to our city hall. Secondly, I wanted to inform the community of a new advocacy page on Facebook. It is for the LGBTQ+ community. This particular page was started by one of our valued residents, Ashley Stevens. Ashley is a long-term Westland resident. She's married with 3 beautiful daughters. Ashley believes, and actually she has walked the walk in terms of her belief in the necessity for representation and inclusion for all people, for anti-discrimination and anti-racism principles. And I will say, whether you're gay or not, if you believe that people should be able to live free of condemnation or abuse for simply being who they are as a person, then I would ask that you view the page or visit the page. Consider liking the page if you support just anti-discrimination of the LGBTQ community. The name of the page on Facebook is Westland LGBTQ+ Pride. So thank you very much for that, Ashley Stevens. Next, I'd like to state that in terms of the Ethics Commission, that is something that I have been asking for both verbally and in writing since I joined City Council 3 years ago. The first 2 years of my council term, I was the lone voice asking that both the mayor, the city attorney, and what have you. There was a statement tonight that stated that the mayor, it is his obligation to appoint the members to the Ethics Commission. That is true. However, City Council has recourse, legal recourse, that we all know about, that we could exercise if he refuses to do so. And because the majority of the members on City Council are refusing to require that this happen, for even before I was elected to City Council, there has been a ongoing refusal for City Council to do their job. So in terms of ensuring that the mayor does see this particular commission. So I applaud the residents who spoke on this tonight, because it is very concerning. There is no way that an elected official should state or take the position that an ethics commission is something that can be used as a sword against us, when ethics is essentially in place to make sure that we all do the right thing for the right reasons, and that we're not doing anything illegal. So the fact that our city has been without an ethics commission for at least a decade is very alarming. I'm very disappointed that our city council is continuing to make excuses in that area because we as a body can enforce it, whether the mayor chooses to move forward or not, and we all know that. So I hope to see traction in that particular area because it is necessary. We're all human beings and none of us are above the law or above the rightful requirement to ensure that we are within the proper checks and balances. So again, I look forward to that. In terms of my motion for the computers, the mayor stated that there was a discussion during our budget debates in terms of what was going to be done with the computers. I do not recall that discussion, and I'm not sure if this is being stated tonight because of the motion that I put on the floor. I'm sure that there will be people that the mayor endorsed for city council who will jump in and say, I remember that. I am very vocal in terms of standing up for issues for our citizens. I'm actually very proud that I have developed a reputation for doing that. The discussion regarding the computers had nothing, they were not questioned about what they were going to do. Because had that been a part of the discussion, I would have sent an email to the mayor stating on X date, you said that you were going to, can you please give an update? It did not happen. So I'm very disappointed that I was given improper information from our city attorney, but this is no different from what I have encountered since being elected to city council. And that's what happens when you, any person, enter into an arena where you are either A, not wanted, or two, you do so against all odds and without the support of those who are in positions of power. And I will just say to some of the people who spoke tonight regarding my commentary, if you find yourself in a position on a yearly basis to be disrespected, overlooked, have your microphone turned off, to be illegally barred from city meetings as a elected council person, to be lied to by the administration, to have to go and ask why contractors are being instructed to lie and keep me out of city meetings at the instruction of the mayor's administration, and so on and so forth. We've heard this story before. When you find yourself in situations like that, at some point, you will begin to do what is called stand up for yourself. So what you saw tonight is me not continuing to accept a lawyer that we pay almost $1 million a year as our city attorney and city prosecutor to give me false information to ultimately cause me to not put a motion on the floor that should have actually been done a long time ago. So, you know, I realize that not everyone will be in support. I thank God I have thick skin. And some of these people who call in and say these type of things, they've sent me condescending messages, emails, friends and family of the people who oppose me. You know, God knew what he was doing when he put me in this seat. But I will tell you this, somebody in the city of Westland, when I got elected and when I ran for office, somebody in the city of Westland was praying for help. Somebody in the city of Westland was praying that somebody got elected who would not come in here and sell them out, who would not bow to what I feel or what would appear to possibly be an issue that lacks ethics or integrity, someone who thinks for themselves and someone who will stand for the people and never vote against them. Somebody was praying for help, and that's me. I'm help. So to those people, I appreciate your opinion, but I respectfully say to you, I will not be moved, period. In the words of John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, when you see something that is not right, not fair, and not just, you are obligated to stand up and speak up. So that is what I'm doing. And that is what I'm going to courageously continue to do. And I thank God once again for the opportunity.
Councilman Godbout.
No, I'm not done yet. Thank you. I'm sure you saw my mouth moving. I must have muted in error. Finally, there was discussion in terms of the Liberator Development Group that the mayor spoke of.
I will not go into detail because if anybody has any questions, you can easily go back and review the last meeting. You can review the meetings from 2018 with all the other nonprofits that the city, these nonprofits that the city set up with all of their people, and we're funneling money into these nonprofits. You can check some of the management companies that are set up to take property management fees in the of nearly $100,000 a year, while the city of Westland is claiming that they're not paying the property management companies. There is so much that you can actually look into. So again, I'm not, I could care less what a person thinks about anything that I say. I have an extensive business background. There are certain things that occur in the city of Westland that would never occur outside of the city of Westland or any organization that practices checks and balances, that does not openly encourage nepotism within our hiring practices and the selective promotions and things of that nature. So again, I won't beat a dead horse. I'll just say to the community that I'm going to continue to stand up against all odds. I've been doing that for 3 years. I've never deviated from who I said I was when I've knocked on your door in 2017, and I'm not going to deviate now. I appreciate your support. Please know that I stand with you. I don't care what it looks like in these meetings, and in any professional setting, people know that you're not always going to agree, but you can still have a passionate discussion and get business done. So that's what we actually do. And that occurs in corporate America every day. So there's nobody within this panel or within city council that I feel that I cannot work with, or even the mayor. But I have my own mind, and I think for myself, and I have to live with myself according to the way that I vote. And I'm very proud of myself because not everyone could walk into a situation and face the type of opposition that I have faced, some legal and illegal, that it has been documented, and still at the end of the day stand up for the residents who I agreed to stand for when I ran for office. So I say that to say, I thank you for your support, for the input. I respect everybody's opinion. I will not be moved. I am Councilwoman Tasha Green. I'm going to be Councilwoman Tasha Green until I decide I don't want to be Councilwoman Tasha Green. So thank you, and I look forward to our next meeting on September 21st.
Okay. Councilman Godbout.
Yeah. Just wanted to reiterate the mayor's comments in regards to the census. There is still time to complete the census. It only takes a few minutes and ensures that our community receives our fair share of resources for the next 10 years. One of the things on our agenda tonight was the police department radar signs. Those are effective. I can tell you, when I'm driving down the road and see people buzz past me and they hit one of those signs, they immediately start slowing down. So they are effective. They are a good deterrent, particularly in those neighborhoods where there's kids, where there's schools, or a lot of neighborhoods where there's activity, people trying to pull in and out. So I'm glad that we were able to acquire more of those signs and put them up. I'd also like to thank the chief for his presentation on the ARX alert software. It's very impressive. It opens up and shows our residents just what's going on within the police department, and I think it will be beneficial moving forward. I'd like to congratulate Albert Phoenix on his appointment to the Marijuana Review Board. And then one thing, and if you're watching, particularly when you watch it on WLND, our cable department does a fantastic job for this city. And over the years that Craig Welkenbach and his staff have been working with the city from community media, for our cable department. They've won several awards, and this year is no different. They were winners for the Philo Festival for Media Arts. One of the programs, Stand By Your Pan, with Deputy Chief Kelly Eggers, who was an integral part of it, the planning and production of that program, won Best Instructional Video Programming. And the producers were Craig Hebert and Craig Welkenbach. And it also won an award in excellence in editing by Dave Monick, who's been with the city cable department since its inception, I believe, or close to it, if not. And also an excellence in a directing award by Craig Welkenbach. The other show won Best Magazine Show Award was In the W with Mayor Wild. And again, Craig was a producer, and that won the award for the Best Series Program. And it also won an award in excellence in directing by Craig Welkenbach. So congratulations to our cable department. They work hard for us. They do a great job for us year after year. And these awards were well-deserved. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rakowski.
Good evening. I also would like to thank and congratulate Mr. Phoenix for his interest in the Marijuana Review Board. As I stated before, I think he's an excellent candidate. I think we'd be hard pressed to find somebody as qualified as him. So thank you, sir. September is a month where we do a lot of patriotic remembrance. We have the 11th coming up, which in our city is going to be used to be part of our garage sales, but it is Patriots Day. And as the mayor has mentioned, September 18th is POW MIA Remembrance Day, and BOVA 9885 is being so kind to invite the city to participate in that moment of remembrance. And there's also September 27th, which is a Gold Star Family Day. And for those of you that don't know, a Gold Star family is a family that has lost a loved one who is killed in action. So that all kind of ties into the fact that September is Suicide Awareness Month, and the VA has also designated it Veteran Suicide Awareness Month. So if you're an individual who is a veteran or a familial member of a veteran, there are services available for you. If you call 1-800-273-8255 and press the number 1, there is a well-trained individual on the other end. Most of them are veterans, and they can help you. In other forms of help, shout out to all the families and students and staff members, and last but not least, the teachers who have been navigating this back to school thing. I'll tell you what, it's all sort of a crazy new kind of normal, but we're gonna get through it. We can only go up from here in my house. So welcome back to school, children and teachers. Please let me know you're a teacher. You deserve every, I don't know how you do it. And with that, I just wish everyone a great evening and a productive and healthy week.
Thank you. Councilman McDermott.
Well, good evening, and thank you. I'd like to echo my colleagues' sentiments on 2 points. One, yes, thank you to all of our teachers, our students, our staff here in the Wayne Westland School District. Obviously, this year has presented a significant challenge, being that it is a virtual learning environment. So, thank you to all the teachers and staff in Wayne Westland Community Schools for what has started out the school year, hopefully a smooth and successful start to the year and throughout the year. So thank you for your work and dedication. And also thank you to Mr. Albert Phoenix for volunteering to serve the community as well. It is oftentimes a thankless job to be on a board or commission. So we certainly appreciate your service to the Westland community. And I have no doubt in my mind you'll do an outstanding job serving us on that board. A couple of other things I'd like to bring up as a reminder, as Councilman Herzberg stated, we are having a council coffee hour with Councilman Godbout, Councilman Herzberg, and myself over at Central City Park, Pavilion 6. Again, that is going to be on Saturday, September 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. We will be socially distanced. So please, when you come, do wear a mask, but we will have chairs set up and we will be spaced out appropriately so that we have a proper 6 feet of social distancing on that coffee hour, September 19th. It's a Saturday from 11 to 1 over there at Central City Park with myself, Councilman Godbout, and Councilman Herzberg. In regards to the issue of the fire hydrants, is that something, I guess this would be through the chair of the administration, that a resident can report on the Click and Fix app if they believe it is not working, and then ultimately could be addressed by DPW on the Click and Fix app? If that's a report that would go back to them, or if a resident has that ability to report that in the first place. Would like to look into see if that is, something that's a potential possibility to report broken hydrants or ones that residents suspect may be broken through the Click and Fix app here that we already have in place. I would like to thank the chief again and Lieutenant Dolly for meeting with myself and Councilman Herzberg for giving us some really, a great presentation, some great information prior to tonight's council meeting on the transparency dashboard. I think, again, this can only serve to benefit our community as we work to combat racial bias and implicit bias, and work to be a more just community for every resident that lives here, no matter your background, no matter your ethnicity or your skin color. So I think that that's going to be an important initiative for us as we continue to roll it out. So I'm very excited to see that as one step amongst many as we bring more transparency and accountability to law enforcement here in the city of Westland. So thanks again to our chief for his presentation tonight, and also for meeting with Councilman Herzberg and myself prior to tonight's meeting as well. In regards to the laptops, I believe we have a policy and procedure in place that if we want to get something on the agenda, that 3 colleagues can request that an item be placed on the agenda. So I would certainly be in support of a future agenda, that being placed up as an agenda item for what we want to do as a community with those laptops. So, following the proper policy and procedure, getting 3 colleagues to do that, I think would be appropriate. And I would certainly support the councilwoman if that is the avenue that she wants to pursue. In regards to the election coming up, the city of Westland always needs poll workers. So if you are interested in volunteering in your community for the election day, November 3rd, working a polling location, visit thecityofwestland.com and click on the clerk's page. And there you can sign up to be a poll worker and volunteer here in the city on November 3rd on election day. And again, you can sign up at thecityofwestland.com and go on the clerk's page there to volunteer on election day. I had a point about potentially doing stickers for the blue bins again for recycling, but that was addressed by Mayor Wild. So thank you for that, and I look forward to seeing what the ultimate proposal was from the study group that was put together in regards to our recycling program here in the city of Westland. And then my final point this evening is in regards to the Board of Ethics. We've talked about this a number of times. It was brought up that, this hasn't been talked about in quite some time. And prior to the councilwoman getting on council, this wasn't brought up. I know that Councilman Herzberg has brought this up for a number of years, and I know that myself and all of my colleagues are in support of that. And I know that we've got, a future study session coming down the pike. So I'm really excited to get the ball rolling on that, as are, I know, many of my colleagues. So, I think that that's something that hopefully this year we will see, implemented and reinstated. So with that, I don't have anything further, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem Michael Londo.
Thank you, President Hart. I'm going to start tonight. I'm going to go a little different. I don't have a lot of comments tonight. I just want to ask a few questions through the chair to a few of the members of the administration. I'll start with Mayor Wild. Mayor, there was a lot of things mentioned during various council members' comments. I don't know if you want to respond to any of that.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, Council President Pro Tem. When I looked at tonight's agenda, there's one non-consent calendar item, and I noticed that we're into the 2.5-hour mark on this council meeting. So I'll probably, I heard a lot of stuff there, but probably the only thing that I would say, Council, is there were some comments tonight to the city attorney that he doesn't deserve. And it seems like I'm spending most of my time on city council apologizing to people for things that people say to them. And so the city attorney, he does a great job, just like Joanne Campbell, who I defended earlier. And, you know, it seems like if it's not these guys, it's Craig Brown I had to defend, and we had to defend Shannon Inman, the new deputy clerk, and Aubrey and Devin, and the list goes on and on. So it's very unusual that the administration, these department heads. But first of all, I guess you can take shots at the mayor because that goes with the job. But these department heads they're professionals, and if there's an issue with their work, there's a way to do that. I mean, they have office hours and they're available, and a lot of the questions that are come up at the council meeting can be asked prior, or at least professional courtesy. So I guess at the end of the night, I would just say the city attorney, who it seemed like he was the target tonight, I apologize for that. You don't deserve it. And the other folks that have been verbally abused at these council meetings, I'll continue to apologize on my behalf to them as well. Thanks.
Thanks. And then city clerk was mentioned. I might as well ask him through the chair. Did you want to respond to Ms. Adam Stachow's questions? Mr. LeBlanc?
Through the chair, thank you. I will. I'd like for council and other folks that are watching this meeting to know that it's my hope, it's my intent to, through WLND, complete a PSA regarding some of these very issues so that we might allow the electorate to know not only what's expected of us and what we'll do, but what's expected of them in an effort to vote, to be confident in your voting, etc. But to respond her questions, and I think I wrote them all down. I'd like to begin by saying, I'd like everyone out there to know that ballots have not yet been printed. The city does not expect to receive ballots within the next 3 weeks, if by then. They've not been approved yet. They've not been printed yet. We don't have them yet. And part of the reason I say that is that we have people that have been emailing applications to me for the past several months for this specific election. And now I'm receiving several dozens of questions daily. Where's my ballot? And I got to tell you, this year we will probably process 5 times the number of absentee ballots that were processed 4 years ago in terms of our permanent absentee list. And we're doing it with the same number of staff, the same hours per week, and all of this is adding to it. So I really hope that the voters in the city of Westland will consider that ballots have not yet been printed. We're doing the best that we can. But to be very direct about what she had asked, yes, we need a signed, completed absentee ballot application for anybody who wishes to receive a ballot for the November election. Now, let me also say that if you received an application that was sent by the city of Westland, by our office, then you had the opportunity to mark or check mark on it 2 different elections, the August election and the November election. So there's no need to submit another application solely for the November election if you indeed check both. Thus far, we have over 20,000 applications received. We began the procedural issuing of ballot numbers just last Friday, and that is expected to take at least a full 3 weeks with the staff that we have. We are shooting for a bulk delivery date, the initial bulk delivery of whatever applications have been received by the 3rd week of September 24 or September 25, depending on when we receive the ballots of this month. What that means is that if you submitted an application and you have not received your ballot by October 5, we are asking that you contact us and we'll make it right. We'll do what we have to do to ensure that you receive the ballot. The next thing that I would offer is that many folks within the clerk's world are saying that this election is pretty clear. It's not as though people have to choose between a fair number of candidates within respective parties to determine who they plan to vote for. So different than the primary election, we're hoping that people in the general election who are voting absentee do it one time, do it early, and get it back to us early. And the best way, to be very forthright, to ensure that we receive your ballot on time is to deliver it to one of our 3 City of Westland Dropbox areas. The one that is most used these days is at the east end of the City Hall parking lot. It's a white Westland only mailbox. It's emptied multiple times per day, even on weekends. And if you would rather come to the building and you approach the building, there is a mail slot at the front of City Hall on the exterior. And then finally, if you wish to come inside City Hall, near our portion of the counter at City Hall, there's a mail slot where you can deposit it there. So once again, 3 opportunities to get it to us via hand delivery. It has to be you or a member of your immediate family residing in the same household. Nobody can go collect ballots from people they don't know and then deliver them to us. That's illegal and they won't be accepted. So I'm going to look at a couple of other notes here. Let's see. I guess one of the other things that I would mention, because we're also receiving numerous email messages and telephone calls regarding this. We have no way to track your absentee ballot application. If you send it to us, we have it. If you mailed it to us, if you handed it to us, you will receive a ballot. But we have no way of tracking that application until the ballot actually becomes assigned. So if you have a question about that, I'd ask that you consider waiting until after September 25 and then make an inquiry. But realistically, wait until October 5. If you don't have your ballot by then, again, we will work with you to ensure you get a ballot and that you can vote. Now, I'm pretty sure I responded to everything. But if there's another question that any member of the council or administrative heard that perhaps I didn't respond, I'd be glad to now.
I think you covered it all, Mr. LeBlanc, and you'll cover it in the PSA, hopefully. So thank you for responding.
Thank you.
Council President, last one, I promise. To the fire chief, through the chair to Fire Chief Michael Stratner, a lot was talked about with the fire hydrants. Is this a citywide problem, having broken or malfunctioned fire hydrants?
Thank you for the question, and through the chair. No, it's not a citywide problem. Like I had stated earlier, and I'll reiterate again, whatever happened on that barn fire happened. There's a variety of hydrants. It's not a lack of training. It's not a lack of tools. Fire hydrants open one way and they close one way. It's either clockwise or counterclockwise. It's a very simple process. Within that process, you could get a frozen cap. You could get a broken valve. You could get a frozen valve. These things happen for a variety of reasons. They don't happen very common. In my 18 years in the field as a firefighter, I only had a frozen valve once on a fire hydrant. So it does happen. It's not like it's impossible. Referencing the Palmer Road fire, I checked with my on-scene battalion chief and my training officer. Neither one of them reported broken hydrants, said the first hydrant they went to worked. There was a reference made that a fire truck went to the scene and used water off the apparatus first. That's our most common practice. Our trucks carry several hundred gallons of water and they carry attack lines for fires. If we pull up to a residential fire, we will start our initial attack with that truck water, and our second and trucks will be the ones that connect to that hydrant. That's a common strategy or tactic, if you will, in the fire service, so it's not that uncommon. Like I said, in September, we go through, we make sure the hydrants are dry so they don't freeze for the winter. We make sure that the caps are lubricated. We do as much maintenance as the fire department can do on them. We don't paint them. That's not what we're responsible for. The city has their neighborhood program that they've been going through neighborhood. During that time, a more robust hydrant program is done through the DPS department. It's not a widespread problem. We have all the procedures in place that where if our fellows do find a broken hydrant, it's reported to DPS. DPS is very responsive, as was pointed out. They talked to the deputy chief on Friday. He reported it through CityWorks. They were there today, which is DPS's first day back in. We have all the procedures in place, all the policies and all the tactics in place to overcome water issues if we do have the situation. The barn fire was obviously Facebook live streamed. There was questions about our response time. I do appreciate Councilman Herzberg pointing out that yes, our units were initially dispatched to Hines Road and Ann Arbor Trail. We have to go where dispatch sends us. It wasn't until 6 minutes into the call that our trucks were actually rerouted to the correct location. I provided all that information to council through an email. So these things do happen, but we have the procedures in place to overcome them. This is not a citywide problem. We have the reporting measures in place. DPS has always been very, very, very responsive to our needs and us reporting a broken hydrant. There's going to be more of them that get promoted, that may be found during our normal inspection program, but that's why we do the annual inspection. And that's why DPS has their maintenance procedures in place, is so we limit the ones that do happen, but they do happen. I mean, it does happen, but understand that we have the practices in place to overcome that and provide the level of service that the community needs for fire protection. And just one more question about Councilman McDermott asked, I assume, and I know that's a bad word, that they can be reported through the city's click and fix. That's not how we report in the DPS. They are reported through CityWorks. And that would have to be a question for Craig Brown if they can be done through click and fix. If that's, I assume that does exist. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Council President, for allowing me to ask those questions to the chair. Just briefly, I'll just say congratulations to Albert Phoenix and thank him for stepping up to serve on the Marijuana Review Board. Anybody can see the council packet and see what an incredible resume this man has. He has incredible character, and I think he's going to do a great job for us. Also, congratulations to WLND on the recent awards. That's fantastic. You guys do a great job for the city, so we all appreciate the cable department. It makes us look good every week. Thank you to Vic Barra and everyone involved with the recent emergency at City Hall, the water emergency that Mayor Wild talked about. It could have been a lot worse, and I'm hoping that the damages are minimal. And I'm thankful that we had this meeting via Zoom, or we'd be standing in water right now for this council meeting. So last two things, thank you, the Chief Jedrzejczyk, for the presentation for the Westland Police Department dashboard. As was spoken about, I think it's going to provide more transparency within the department that I believe can only benefit our community. Real quick, with movie theaters being closed the past several months due to the coronavirus pandemic, drive-in movie theaters have seen a huge resurgence in popularity. Here in Westland, we have been holding a drive-in movie as part of the All-American Wayne Road Cruise for the past several years. This year's movie will take place Wednesday, September 16th in the parking lot of STEP, which is located at 450 South Fenoy. For those that don't know, it's the former Tinkham Elementary School, just south of Cherry Hill, 450 South Fenoy. Beginning at dusk, the classic 1989 film Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson will be shown on the big screen. This is a free event, and it's being brought to you by STEP, Don Nicholson Enterprises, and the City of Westland. And then lastly, Council President, in closing, I just want to say, I support all of our department heads and city employees. Kind of what the mayor said, it's unfortunate that we constantly have to apologize to them. But just know that you do have a council that supports you, an administration that supports you. That's all I have tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. It's been a long night so far. I'll try to be brief. I usually do a pretty good job of it. I'd like to thank Councilman Godbout for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to thank Council President Pro Tem, even though he's very wordy, he actually got a couple questions answered. And thank you to Chief Stradner for giving us additional information, as well as Mr. Clerk LeBlanc. That was some important information. Had he not done it, I would have done it. So thank you, Council President Pro Tem, for doing that. Chief Jedrzejczyk, thanks for kind of working on that ARCS program and showing it to all of us. I think we're all behind it clearly, really excited. So I think it'll definitely give us the transparency that we've been looking for. And I think it's going to kind of support some of the things we've said all along, while also bringing in some efficiencies and improvements along the way. So I think it's a all around a very well received program. I'm also excited about the radar signs. I'm here to tell you they do work, just like Councilman Godbout said. They work very well. especially in areas where you don't think you should be doing 25 miles an hour. And the two that stick out in my head the most are in front of John Glenn and in front of Stevenson over on Palmer. That's a bad one. Even I have accidentally sped in front of Stevenson, and now the sign keeps me in check when I'm dropping the kids off. So really good. I'm also thinking about buying one myself and getting a right-of-way permit right on Farmington Road and putting up my own. So we'll see. The study sessions that was brought up, yes, we've been working on those. We've been working in the background. We haven't forgot about those. Councilman Herzberg asked about them. I've engaged the attorney and Councilman Herzberg, as well as copying me, and working some documentation so that we can have an effective study session instead of 3 study sessions trying to come up with an answer. We can do it maybe in 1 and drive some resolution and be efficient. We always talk about efficiency. We're trying to be efficient. Let's be efficient. In regards to First Sergeant Albert Phoenix, thank you to my colleagues for supporting him. I don't know him personally, but I tell you what, his resume sticks out very well. First of all, he's a retired United States Army First Sergeant. He's also a JROTC instructor. And I tell you what, JROTC was one of the most important things I had in my life in that age. And Albert Phoenix has the opportunity to positively impact dozens of young men and women every day. And they'll always remember who he is and the things that he's done. And if being a First Sergeant is enough and a JROTC instructor, he's an Audie Murphy Board recipient. In the United States Army NCO, it's one of the highest honors you can ever have. And you'll be hard pressed to find anybody in this town with a higher level of integrity as that man. So you picked the right one today, friends. Thank you so much. With regards to the laptops, another ambush tactic, I think. So these laptops, right? Yeah, they're a commodity, but we got rid of these laptops in the first place because they weren't capable of supporting Windows 10, which is a huge security threat. That's why we got rid of them in the first place, so that we can go up to 10 and maintain our security with Microsoft. Secondly, let's talk to the IT director and ask him what he thinks before we tell him what he thinks. How about that? All right, these laptops, they're going to have security. They're going to have to be wiped. And in some instances, you can't even wipe the hard drive. The only ethical way to get rid of these devices is to destroy the physical hard drive. So now let's think about this. We take 200 laptops, physically remove the hard drives, destroy them. Now we buy new hard drives to replace them with. Are they effective? The schools are giving out Chromebooks, friends, not laptops. They're giving out Chromebooks. These Chromebooks average retail around $200 a piece, brand new. So I'd love to hear Craig's input on how we can take an antiquated laptop, refurbish it, resupply it for the same cost of the Chromebooks. These kids are using Chromebooks with OS, with Chrome OS on them. They're not even using Windows. And I don't even know if these machines can handle it. I have no problem getting rid of the laptops, or donating the laptops. What I have a problem is a gun to the head ambush style tactic that goes to this council for a decision that we haven't had even an opportunity to discuss it. I even haven't had the opportunity to talk with our IT director about this. But here we are, we're having a discussion, and now it's a gun to head decision. I don't respond well to those. I don't think it's fair to my colleagues, and I don't think it's fair to the community. Let's at least have a conversation about it first before I'm made to have a discussion and make a decision about it. And I'd like to hear from the professionals in the industry as well. And it kind of goes around the same point. We heard this thrown around about corporate America behavior. I've seen a lot of behavior recently that is not accepted in corporate America. A lot of it. Okay. Attacking people, attacking their integrity, denigrating them. Some people have the ability to bring cooperation. Some people have the ability to build teams. And some people's special skill is to take things they don't understand and turn it into a conspiracy theory. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. So if we want to work together, let's work together. Let's trust the professionals at who they are. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to know more than an attorney. I'll ask the attorney. I'm not going to pretend to know more than the IT director. He's an IT director. And I'm not going to treat people like garbage just because I think it's advantageous for myself when the cameras are on. These agendas come out early. You have the opportunity to read them, go through them, ask the directors these questions ahead of time. If you don't, either you're not doing your job or you're taking advantage of it and the cameras are on and now you're attacking them. And I'm getting tired of it. I personally am getting tired of it, and citizens are calling me all the time. I don't get the phone calls. I don't get the million phone calls about the fire hydrant like some people do. I don't get the million phone calls about this. I get the million phone calls about what the heck is going on. Treat everybody with respect and quit acting for the camera and just let's start behaving and doing our job. That's my 2 cents. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Good evening.
Or
Good night.